Welcome to the StockMiner.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your stock miner, Brian Johnson, making professional trading simple. And I'm going to try to get these videos done a little earlier than I normally do today. It is a gorgeous day here, about 60-ish, or going to be at least 60 if not warmer. And so I think me and my boy are going to go play some tennis. Yes, tennis. Does anybody play tennis anymore? I do. I love that game. It's really a lot of fun. So we're going to go out and smack it around a little bit. He's only 12, so he's just now taking kind of an interest in it. We're going to go out and teach him how to play. It's going to be a blast. So we are now getting ready for a new week of trading. Last week we saw, towards the very end of the week, a few days of bearish motion, but did it accomplish anything? No, it did not. Certainly didn't change anything from the bull side. However, this is what we are watching coming into Monday. Now, it is Monday. Mondays have been typically very good for the markets, very bullish for the markets. If they don't go up on Mondays, they at least typically stay flat on Monday. So I would be watching that coming into the new week. Now, I do have a student that's convinced that Monday will be the day we'll start a big down leg too, because the markets are setting everybody up. We've had Monday after Monday after Monday of consistently bullish behavior, and now one of these times it's going to set us up just to knock us down. That may happen. Very well could happen. I think that's a brilliant plan, actually. But we still have to enter neutral to bullish. Why? Because the charts are not bearish yet, and Mondays have been overly bullish for quite a while. So we want to be watching that. We do have a little bit of a shoulder, head, and shoulder forming here on the 60-minute, and we were not able to break it last week. We had that big move down, and then I said, well, let's just watch. Seems to be that the bulls like to buy this up, and they did, only for it to come right back down to a break even, creating this nice little head and shoulders I had mentioned last week. Now, whether or not it'll break, we do not know. That's why we wait to see and let the charts tell us which way to go. But breaks below 10,800, especially closes down here near 10,800, would be confirmation of that happening. Looking at it on a daily. On a daily, you can see here the blue line we are now at or just below. However, a little closer look at this. I want to show you if we just move down to about a 3-month here. You can see here that overall, yes, we have broke the blue line. However, this looks more like really it's kind of a high base again, more like we saw here. See this move here, see this move back here. Just kind of high bases all the way up here, and now once again up here. So we have to just be very cautious up here. I'm still playing this thing bullish, but cautiously bullish. Staying with the same strategy I've had for the last umpteen weeks, and that's I don't like holding indices and ETFs overnight. I will hold certain stocks overnight to the long side. To the short side, that might be a little bit safer gamble there. But right now, breaking this blue line, still looking like a high base formation though. So there's no bearish or bullish case happening here outside of the neutral to bullish that we've been talking about for quite a while. So just be very cautious if you're looking to try to call a top up here. Wait for some good moves to the downside. Wait for more major levels to be broken on all of these indices. Nasdaq here, you can see I drew in a line. This is the line to watch. If we get back up and over about that 1960-ish mark or so, we could be coming back up here towards 1970 or above. Maybe this is the one that breaks it. My overhead target would be up here in this area again. But you've seen this nice uptrend we've been following for quite a while. So once again, here is the line below us, as we've seen on the Dow, and then watching this 20-period moving average and the 1960-ish mark above us. From a daily standpoint, you can see us putting in what? Yeah, just kind of like a high base up here. It's not moving anywhere. If you're ultimately bearish on the markets, you want to see this thing really come down. And ultimately, below the 1920 mark gets you outside of this blue trend line, and really below 1900 is where I'm looking at to, and for a close below 1900 to get a little bit more bearish on the Nasdaq. It's been so strong. Be very careful trying to short the Nasdaq. Nasdaq on a weekly, my overhead target last week was 1960, 1970. We hit 1976, so just a stretch above it, but did close back below it. Be watching it very closely to see if, once again, we get a close below this area. Be watching to see if we get any kind of big some heavier movement towards the end of the week, in which we would have a weekly candle close up and above this. So watch this overhead level on the Nasdaq. Let's see if it holds this week. We are getting a bit stretched up here, even on a weekly standpoint. We're starting to get very stretched. SPX on a 60. Here's that line we're watching in the sand. Anything above 1170 probably takes us back up into this area someplace, and maybe even beyond. We could sneak our way past the 1180 mark this next week. If we fall, you can see a little shoulder, head, and shoulder as well on this one, and that would put us below the 1165-ish mark. So look, I would say if you're more conservative, look for closes below this 1155 area to start looking to get a little bit more short. We could have a little shoulder, head, and shoulder, followed by a shoulder ahead if we bounce off 1155, and then maybe create another shoulder. So this could go on and on for quite a while. Be very careful, like I said. Wait for these more major levels to be broken. If you're going to sneak in early, you got to keep your stops tight. SPX on a daily. This looks like a pullback now. So we have moved up, pull back, move up, kind of pull back here, up, pull back, falling right into support. That coincides with that 1165 area. Now we have broken the blue line. The most logical thing is one of two scenarios. A, we just break down from here. That would put us below 1160 and start to fall down into these areas here. Keeping in mind that 1150 is going to be should be a major level of support. You're going to have 1150 coming back from this area here and the 20-day moving average all at the same spot. That should add a lot of extra support to it. So that would be your first scenario. Second scenario is to come back and retest the underside of this blue line, and that'll make it up here around the 1180, potentially the 1200 area. From a weekly, you can see where ultimately it wants to be pulled. Really wants to try to get to this 200-week moving average up here, but it's fighting every step of the way now. It's very, very stretched. Candles are getting a lot smaller. It's really having to work a lot harder to make any ground. So maybe there's a small pullback first before we launch our way upwards. Anybody's guess at this point. Watch the 1155 and 1150 marks for your entries. VIX on a daily. You can see here we did have a little bit of a move up towards the end of the week, but flat overall. From a weekly standpoint, look at this little range we've been in, holding nicely with this lower support. This thing's been holding beautifully. Had the trend line coming through here too, so extra support being added to this area. Overall, like I said on the VIX, no fear, just nothing to be worried about. So this area will start to make for some good option purchases for those of you that like to play the options. Apple on a 60-minute, kind of working our way into a